Good morning, third grade scientists. Today I'm going to show you on my screen the video lesson that goes with your paper lesson, backwards for me, 5. Okay, so you can have this open and ready, but it's not going to go along exactly with what's on the screen. So if I were you, I would just have this out to look over when you're finished watching this video, and for now just watch. Okay, so I'm going to take you through, let me make myself small. I'm going to take you through the video lesson. This is the same. Oh, come on, shrink, Mrs. Brandon. Everyone wants to do this for me. There, okay. Now, okay, I hope you can still see me. If not, you can at least hear me. So I'm going to press start. This is the same lesson I would be showing up on the big whiteboard for students who are in person. So, making it big.
Welcome to How Do Scientists Use Data? In this lesson, you will learn how scientists organize, display, and analyze data. The vocabulary words for this lesson are data, bar graph, data table, and empirical evidence. Click each word to learn more about it.
Okay, I think I made myself disappear. I hope you can hear me and not see me because I don't want to block the screen with this. I'll move me down just in case. Okay, I am going to click on these vocabulary words so you can have more information for those. Data or data, you can hear it either, you can say it either way, is individual facts, statistics, and items of information. Okay? That's what data means. It's like the stuff, the numbers, the information you can get. A data table is a set of facts. Tables make it easier for other people to understand your data. So here they gathered all their information and then they put it on a chart or a table. Sometimes people make graphs for their data. And then we have, here's a bar graph. Here's one way to represent your data. A graph using parallel bars of varying lengths to show comparison. So this graph, you guys know how graphs work, but it shows different information by how tall the bar is for the bar graph. And then, here's a fancy science word, empirical evidence. And all that means is the data that was collected during an investigation. So it's just the fancy science word that means all the data that you collected. Okay, let's move on.
Data can help solve mysteries.
They say data, I say data.
Data is information, such as facts and figures. Scientists collect and use data all the time. They use data as empirical evidence to solve mysteries in their research. Empirical evidence is data that you gathered from direct observations or measurements.
Okay, I love how they said data can help solve mysteries. A lot of times that's what science is. It's finding a discovery that helps solve your problem or solve a mystery.
Frank the ferret, the class pet, went missing during lunch break.
Dun, dun, dun.
An eyewitness saw someone in a yellow t-shirt, black sneakers, and a green backpack playing with Frank just before everyone left for lunch. The witness couldn't tell who it was, or even if the person was male or female, because the person's face was hidden by a blue baseball cap.
So we have some information here. Let's see what they do with it.
Let's take a look at what kind of data we need to collect in order to find this person. Click the items to examine the empirical evidence.
So here they're using evidence to use like you're trying to solve a mystery. So let's see what evidence we have. This is what the witness, the person who saw this person, noticed.
The person was wearing black sneakers. Sneaker color might be a useful detail. The person was wearing a yellow t-shirt. T-shirt color is something we should add to our data list. The person had a green backpack. Backpack color is something we definitely want to take note of. The person was wearing a blue hat. So, Hat color should be part of our data. Before beginning to collect data, it's a good idea to write down the types of data that may be useful. So, we may want to collect data on the color of hats, t-shirts, sneakers, and backpacks that students wear. There are many ways to collect and display data. Different people may do this in different ways. Let's see how 3 student investigators collected and organized the data. Click each picture to find out what each student did. Student 1 made a data table. The top column lists the 4 items of clothing. A check mark shows whether or not each student in the class was wearing that item that day. Student 2 used the data from her notepad to make a bar graph. Her graph shows the number of students who owned all or some of the items on the evidence list. Student 3 made a circle graph. It only shows the portions of the class that were wearing each item of clothing. The teacher looked at all of the data that was collected and compared them. Each student had used the same data, but chose to display it in different ways. So, the teacher had a lot of information to use and analyze. I wonder what she discovered. The teacher asks the 3 student investigators to present their data and conclusions to the class. Click the pictures to find out what happened.
Ooh, this guy looks pretty wound up. Let's see what he says.
Student 1 saw that 3 of his classmates were wearing all 4 items, so he could not figure out who the thief was.
That's why he's frustrated. Look at that face. All right.
Student 2 concluded that her bar graph did not help narrow down who the person may be. Student 3 concluded that there was not enough data to determine who took Frank. After hearing what the other 2 students had to say, Student 3 realized that the 4 items were things that could have been taken off and worn by another student.
Okay, so just because someone's not wearing that backpack now doesn't mean that they weren't wearing it at the time when Frank went missing. That was a good observation of student 3.
So, are we any closer to finding out who did it?
I don't know.
Sometimes to solve a mystery or answer a question, you need more data. Click the pictures to find out how more data could help you draw better conclusions. The clothing worn by the thief is just one part of the mystery. You need more information than that to find out who stole Frank. We could also collect data about where each suspect was when the crime happened. This data table narrows down the list of suspects to 2. So, how do we decide which one it was who stole Frank the Ferret? Sometimes we have to look for even more data. Perhaps we could see if someone is allergic to Frank or is afraid to pick him up. We could cross that person off the list. And so, you've narrowed the list of suspects down to 1 person. But did she take him? Just when we thought we'd collected and analyzed all our data, the teacher picks up the box. It has a big hole in the bottom.
Oh.
Frank may not have been stolen. He may have escaped to go exploring.
So sometimes the data leads you one direction, but you needed even more information to find out that it's a totally different problem than you thought it was.
Which of these do you need when collecting and displaying data? Click all the ones that apply.
Let's see. Do we need knowledge of the topic? I think so. We need to understand what we're asking.
Great. You need to know something about the topic you're investigating. Keep clicking.
Do you need a curious mind to wonder about this, to ask why questions?
That's right.
Yep.
You need to be curious in order to ask the right questions. Now try again.
Do you need to know how to present data?
That's right. You need to know how to present your data so you can analyze it.
So you need to have a plan, whether it's going to be a chart, a graph, or a data table.
That's it.
And we
A
also need a notepad and pen.
helps you keep track of information. Try again. In fact, they are all correct. Each one is important for collecting, displaying, and understanding data. Being curious, knowing the topic, and having the tools to record your data is important. You'll also need to know how to present your data so you can analyze it. The student investigators looked at only one kind of data, the items of clothing. There was some other information they needed but did not get. Write what you think this information was in the box. Click the OK button when you are finished.
All right, let's see if it'll let me type. Okay, so I think we needed to know when Frank went missing, when he was last seen. I think we also needed to know, is someone taking him the only explanation? Could he have gotten out some other way? And also, we would need to examine the box that he was kept in. Then we would have found the hole.
Compare the ideas you wrote down to the following.
Okay, let's see if it's close.
The student investigators might have collected data on what time Frank was stolen.
Okay, that's this one.
They could have collected data on students who were allergic to ferrets.
I didn't think about that.
They could have collected data on students who didn't like Frank. They could have looked at the box.
Good.
You have learned a lot about collecting and analyzing data. Before we finish, let's take a quick look at the main points you covered. Data is information that you collect. Scientists collect data for investigations. Data is used to draw conclusions. Bar graphs, circle graphs, and data tables are some ways to display data. You should compare different data about the same topic. Now that you've finished, if you wish, you can go back and review any part of the lesson again.
Okay, so that's the video lesson. I kind of liked that. I felt like a detective solving a mystery. Here's what I want you to do next. I want you to go through the lesson pages. Okay, you can take notes at the bottom where it gives you a space to write. You can do that, but you don't have to. That's kind of extra, but it gives you some more information about data and the data tables and charts and bar graphs. So it gives you some more information on our vocabulary that we are looking at. And remember, vocabulary is an important word that you need to know. This back page is what we're usually going to do, but this one is not one I wanted us to do. We're going to do something different. So you can put a big old X through this page. You don't have to do it unless you're just feeling like you need to do something extra. But here is what I want you to turn in for this science lesson. Right behind this packet in your green science folder, you should have a brain check, okay? And all it has is some of our vocabulary, and it has some options on what it means. So does data mean tools used to measure, steps in an investigation, or pieces of scientific information? Underline whichever one you think is the answer, and I want you to do that on all of these. Okay, so read them, and if you need to, watch this video again or look back through here to find the definitions. That's what they mean. And I want you to finish that draw a line under the correct meaning, make sure your name's at the top, and then take a picture and turn it in for this one. Great job, guys. See you soon.